West Tigers fans, welcome in to another week of Adel's Coaches Report. It's a bit of deja vu, another close loss of the West Tigers going down, having chances to win it at the end there at Campbelltown. The stats man, Roberto, and I were out at Campbelltown on Friday night. We were feeling okay. Speaking to our Patreons, met up with at the Leaguesy with Shane and the crew, and we were, feeling like we could get a win, but wasn't to be. And looking forward to tonight as Adel and Rob break it all down from a coach's point of view. Firstly, before we get into that, this show is sponsored by Gym Direct. If you head to our link tree, so the link is either on our socials, it's on our profile pages, or you can go to westtigers.com.au and just drop the S. And there's a link there for our Gym Direct landing page. If you order some fitness equipment, everything from dumbbell, if you want a couple of dumbbells to pump those arms up, or you want to fit out an entire gym, commercial gym, you can do that as well. And it's coming into EFS, so there's lots of good deals, and you can get extra 5% off with the code WTLXGD5. So West Tigers Life times Gym Direct 5 is what that acronym stands for. So get in on that. It's the middle of winter now, but as I'm sure Coach Adel would say, you got to train hard to get that body in shape for summer. All right, let's get to speaking of elite athletes. Mr. Bashara, how are you this evening?
I'm well, Josh. I wish, but thank you very much for saying that.
And Mr. Hage coming in again. Thank you so much coming in from up there in the Banana Bend estate. Not that it's been a tough week being up in Queensland, I bet, this week. But yeah, at least I guess it's not quite as bitterly cold as it is down here.
Hey, Josh. No, it is actually pretty cold up here at the moment. Everyone's complaining. So it's been an unusual winter.
Low 20s, is it?
No, it's been in the late teens.
Yeah, right. Late teens.
Yeah, exactly. That's cold for us up here at the moment.
Yeah.
So, but no, it's been good.
All right. Let's turn the heat up. Mr. Bashara, take it away.
All right, Adel. Well, firstly, how are you, mate? Have you had a good weekend?
No, Rob, the Tigers lost. Whenever the Tigers lose, I have a terrible weekend, and whenever they win, I have a good weekend. So it's been a terrible weekend, to be honest.
Nothing worse than when you play on a Thursday or Friday night and you lose. I think it's almost better to play the last game on Sunday and at least have had a good weekend. Mate, it was a pretty good round of footy, all things being told. 7 games. The first 5 were pretty close. I think all the margins were 10 points or less up until the last 2 games. Where did you catch our game on Friday night, mate? Were you watching it from home?
Yeah. I was pretty grumpy watching it at home. It was frustrating. That was probably one of the most frustrating games this year. But yeah, no, definitely watched it at home. It was tough. It was a tough watch, that one.
Yeah, certainly. It was tough for me, mate. I drove all the way out to Campbelltown, and by half time, I had decided that I was going next door for a feed. And the ground has a policy that they won't let you back in if you leave. And I thought, you know what, I'll have a feed, and if Canberra score the next try, I'm heading back down the M5. And to the boys' credit, they fought it out right to the end and probably should have won the game, really. And I ended up staying there, catching up with a few people after the game, and not leaving till probably an hour after full time. Mate, just give us your overall thoughts on how we played, how it went. You've told us how frustrated you were. Should we feel frustrated as a fan base? We don't want to keep blaming the officiating, but I'll read out the stats shortly, Adel, after your thoughts on the game. But given what I've seen of the statistics, I don't know how we lost that game.
Yeah, the numbers don't really make sense from a winning and losing perspective, and I guess that's probably the positive you can take from it. When you're reviewing the game, you want to sort of try to maintain as much confidence as you can. You know what, Rob? For me, I'm at a loss very similar to you as to how we didn't win the game, but I sit there and I tell myself, I just don't know if we know how to win. Like the years of losing, has it caught up with us? Has it just meant that there's no confidence, or there's no will to get us over the line? And I'm probably going to be a bit critical tonight with a little bit of the bad habits from some certain individuals. Off the back of Jerome Luai playing Origin, 80 minutes of Origin on Wednesday, and then watching his efforts and his competing on every play the other night, there is no excuse. But some of the poor efforts from individuals, I think, cost us the game. That's my open, honest truth. I also think our fundamental skills are showing is really poor at the moment, with a lot of our catch pass and a lot of our just generic, 4-on-3, 3-on-2 passing, 2-on-1 passing, even just our block shapes and just our targets and where the ball's being caught. And it's a little bit of luck we're just lacking at the moment. Without going into sort of breaking the game down, I think if you go back and watch the last tackle play where Uppy hits Terrell May and he pops it up to Luai, that's sort of an indication of us, right? We take the right option, we isolate the front rower, we get an offload, but the offload goes about a foot above Jerome's head, and the difference between him catching it here, where he just catches it there and just his momentum he scores, that extra split second of catching it up high means it gives time for the Canberra player to get there and allows him to hold us up. These are the little things we're not getting right at the moment. Even and we'll talk about it later, even the Toa try, like you go back and you look at that, again, he doesn't catch the ball cleanly in front. So I think a lot of our fundamental skills are causing us to make things a little bit more difficult than what they are. But there is one shining light and a little bit of, I know for the people that are here at the moment, but for a lot of the people that know me and have spoken about the Tigers with me, it's a little bit of I told you so, and the best is yet to come. But yeah, we just got to pray that Latu stays on the field, because if he does, he is, I talked a lot about Isaiah Katoa at the start of the year. Trust me, when Latu gets a bit more football under his belt, he is not far behind Katoa.
Yeah, look, I totally agree that we don't seem to know how to win, or we're falling in that habit. We definitely know, aside from the Melbourne game, how not to get thrashed. So there's definitely a resilience there. Being at the game, Adel, I saw a team that went out and believed in what they were doing. I saw a confident team. I saw a team that believed it was going to win. I don't often see that, even in our better performances, Adel. I really thought we went out with proper intent and we dominated those early stages of the game. Look, before I get into the first half with you, let me read out some of these team stats to show you what our dominance was like. And you can either stop me as I'm going, or you can go back at the end and just say what you want to talk about. So possession was 54% to the Raiders, 46%. Time in possession, we had the ball for 30 minutes and 40 seconds. They had the ball for 27 minutes and 7 seconds. So we had it for a good 3 minutes more. The completions were 68% to 82%. So our completions were quite poor. Metres gained, West Tigers 1,808, Canberra Raiders 1,464. Post-contact metres, we won that, 596 to 514. The line breaks were 4 each. Interestingly, Adel, the Canberra line breaks all in the first half, our 4 line breaks all in the second half. Tackle breaks, West Tigers 46, Canberra Raiders 25. Average set distance.
Which means what, Rob?
Okay, I know. Yeah. Go back to okay, I get all that. Don't interrupt my flow, please. It's tough enough doing this as it is. Okay. Average set distance, we were about 38.5 meters. They were 37.5. So nothing in it there. The play the ball speed, 0.2 of a second is pretty good. We were 3.63. They were at 3.85. We put up 8 bombs. They put up 4. We put 13 grubber kicks. They put up 6. We made 338 tackles. They made 374. We missed 25 tackles. They missed 46. Penalties were 4-3 in favour of the Raiders. Ruck infringement, so the repeat sets, it says 6-2 Canberra. That doesn't make sense to me. I felt like there were that many repeat sets in the first half, and I was quite surprised there wasn't a sin bin. And finally, the use of the interchange. Canberra used all of their 8 interchanges. We used 7. Now, let's go through this first half, Adel. Look, I guess for me, watching the game, I thought other than the 10-minute period where the Raiders got those 3 tries, or pretty much around that 10-minute block of play, we dominated the first part prior to them scoring, and we stood our ground after that little onslaught at 16-0. And even though we got to half-time at 16-0, I didn't think there was a way back from it. But to the boys' credit, the second half we totally dominated. Is there anything you want to touch on the first half, like from the beginning, or would you like me to mention a few things that happened, or incidents, points of note that happened in the first half, and maybe talk through them?
Yeah, no, I could almost combine the 3 tries they scored into one. And this is the part where I indicated earlier, where I think individuals, through a poor breakdown of breaking systems or individual inability to make a tackle, cost us. And these are the sort of errors that, honestly, Rob, they're New South Wales Cup errors, the type of errors you don't see in this grade. The first try they score, if you go back and look at it, and we're going to all point the finger at Alex Seyfarth and Hage Mason, it actually starts with Alex Twal. Alex Twal comes off the line for some unknown reason, decides to turn his body in, tucks into the A defender, which means it just opens all their space up for Tapani and Papali'i to create, right? It's the most important rule when defending in the middle of the field is to get up square, stay square, keep your spacing. I don't know why. There's absolutely no reason. The lead runner for Canberra off the dummy half actually runs inside the A defender. So there's no reason for Twal to turn in and to create sort of, to break down our system there. Then Alex Seyfarth decides to sit, what we call sit in the chair. So basically he just stands his ground and doesn't keep moving up once the pass is given. And the disconnect is Heath Mason's doing the right thing by pushing up hard, because you want to get off. The closer you are to your try line, you want to get up as far as you can. He does the right thing, but because of the disconnect, because of the fact that his inside man is basically sitting deep, that creates the space. That's a New South Wales Cup try. That's the type of try you'll see at New South Wales Cup level. You don't see it at the NRL. It was way too easy. It's a system breakdown. It's someone has broken principles. My belief, it's Twal and Seyfarth. I actually don't think Heath Mason does the wrong thing there, because as a 3-man and as a half, you want them to get up high. High meaning as far away from the line as you can. So I'm going to turn around and say, well, that's again a Twal, Seyfarth. Guys have been at the club for a long time. We've actually seen it from both those guys during the year where they make some really bad errors that we've seen over the last 3 years, and they still do it. And this is the part where you sit there and go, how much of these guys are like almost scarred, I guess is probably the word to use. But that's the breakdown in the first try. So it's very simple. The next try, I'm going to blame our coaching. If you watch carefully now in the modern day, I'd say 90% of NRL teams now, Rob, when they're coming out of yardage, will get their fullback to take the last carry, and then they'll kick on tackle 5. And the reason they do that is because the best teams in the comp have put a focus on their kick chase. And you start winning sets of 6, especially when it comes to field territory, by winning the first 2 tackles in the set. So if you're consistent with a 12-man kick chase, and the reason that'll happen is because your fullback's the bloke that's been tackled last, so he can hang back, well, then you're probably a chance of winning the first tackle. Heath Mason takes the carry on tackle 5. He gets tackled. He then gets up, and you know what? A part of me says, well, Mason's got to be better there, because at the end of the day, kick chase is so important. We play the ball. Jerome kicks it deep. It's a pretty good kick. I think they catch it about 12, 13 metres out. Our line's really good. There's one person missing from the line. The guy that played the ball, that's Heath Mason. He sits back. He does not chase at all. Doesn't even start chasing halfway through. The Raiders do a good job to shift the ball. they get to that space where in between Seyfarth and Toa, and that's the gap they find. So they do that, whether they've done their homework, whether that's something they looked at previously, they've decided that that's where we're going to shift the ball. They go straight through. Mason's 30 metres behind, misses the tackle. We do a pretty decent job to get back scramble, and then we don't come up with the play on the next tackle. I think Tito ends up at centre. Stafford ends up on the wing. Again, Tito's probably got to be a bit more aggressive there once you're defending at centre, but he doesn't normally defend there. And Chris gets a pass around the corner to who was it? Jed Stewart, and they score in the corner.
Stewart. Yeah.
Look, Stafford Toa needs to improve his defensive part of his game, his application to it. It's not so much he doesn't miss tackles. I just think sometimes he's competing on plays in defence probably lacks a little bit. And he did that later on in the game when they put a little grubber in, and luckily Ethan Strange dropped the ball. So that was the second one. And the third one, once again, Heath Mason, one-on-one with Seb Chris. It's a horrendous miss. You can't be missing those sort of tackles at this level. They make a break. If you go back and watch that again, you see the guys that are chasing are Jerome, Uppy, Tito, Jareem, our best players, are the only ones that get back pretty much on that kick. I think Stafford ends up getting back as well, late. But the ball bounces their way somehow. Good luck to them. And I think Skelton drops the ball, doesn't he? And then, they score. So that's the sort of stuff, to be honest, Rob, and not to sound like a bit of a whinger or a victim here as a club, those sort of bounces don't go our way. We very rarely get those sort of bounces. And later on in the game, there's opportunities where the ball bounces and it bounces to them, not to us. But you make your own luck. But at 16-0, there was every reason why that could have game got ugly, and it didn't. So that's to me what the start looked like and what the first half was pretty much all about from my end. The interesting thing is the moment Latu comes onto the field, two things happen. Our defence improves, and there was a set of 6 there where we actually stood up defensively, and I don't think the Raiders made more than 21 metres in a set of 6. So to me, what that does is, I know it looks good, but it also takes away the excuse that we can't defend aggressively with a good line speed. I think we just made a choice that we can do it now, but we've got to be good enough to do it all game. And we did that, and that springboarded the back end of our first half. But that in the end, it also sort of built a bit of confidence for us in the back end.
Oh, well, let me just backtrack a little bit, Adel. I'll backtrack to my text to you earlier today just to make sure you're okay for 8:30. And if you don't mind me sharing, I said I told you I rewatched the game, and I feel better for rewatching it because I was absolutely livid all day yesterday. You couldn't talk to me yesterday. And then I messaged you and I said, what did you think? And you said, we're just missing that little bit of luck. Just like you mentioned earlier, when Terrell May offloads the ball to Luai and it's just a little bit too high and it could have turned into a try. Look, I sometimes think, Adel, that you make your own luck too. And I want to talk about, obviously, what led to their first try in terms of that bunker review. And it's not, again, there's a lot of decisions that were against us the other night, but at the same time, even if they'd have gone our way, it doesn't necessarily mean we would have won. But we had opportunities to score before Canberra got down that other end. We did a couple of really poor kicks, I believe, on the last tackle. There was one where Jerome got the ball, one off the ruck, probably about 40 metres out. He actually ran behind Appy. We could have got penalised for a shepherd. And then Buller got penalised. I think it was in the second minute for what do you call it when you disruptor, when you jump up for the bomb.
Which all he did was jump up and actually pull his hands away, which is ridiculous.
No, exactly. And I think that was just a ridiculous decision because he's going up for the ball. He realises he's not going to get it. If he takes the player out, he's going to get penalised. I don't think, he jumped up to catch it, then realised I'm not going to get this, and withdrew his hands well before the ball came down. So I don't know why that was penalised there. Look, we nearly scored also in the 5th minute with a really nice rubber kick from Jerome Luai, where I think Fainu and Dewey were going for the ball, Samuela Fainu, and we could have scored there. I just felt a lot of the last tackle stuff was, we're in the red zone. We dominated red zone tackles compared to Canberra. and we didn't take advantage of it. Now, I fast forward, and I want your take again. And if people think I'm whinging, good, I am whinging, because this is probably why I left the game at halftime. Don't need to mention the video ref's name, but Canberra put up a bomb that was absolutely a dog's breakfast. Last tackle play that was just all over the place. Could have been a knock on, might not have been a knock on. It made no sense. But the bottom line is the ball was kicked into Appy Coruscant. He never played at it. So I just thought it was a frivolous challenge. And at the time, I said to Gussie, who was actually sitting next to me, I said, mate, this is a waste of challenge. Like, even if they win the challenge, it's still our changeover. Why are they challenging this? And sure enough, Canberra win the challenge, get given 6 again. I don't know how. And then they scored from that ensuing set where you've gone through the first try. And I just think, you think decisions don't make a difference in games. That really made a difference, because I thought we'd won the battle of the arm wrestle those first 13 to 15 minutes. And then they get a decision like that. Were you? I mean, I know you were messaging me during the game, so I can't repeat what you said to me with our text messages. But like, what did you think of that first bunker decision where they basically should have lost their challenge?
Yeah, there's the other part to the challenge that, old mate in the coach's box who's still bitter because her husband's not at our club anymore. I'll just say it, Rob. You don't have to worry. I'll say it.
Well, I don't know that whether they're bitter or not, but I just think, like having heard about some of the officiating, the bunker review decisions from the Dolphins and Knights game, someone's way out of their depth, and they're just not good at that job.
She's never been in her depth, mate. She's never belonged at
I know that, but you can't say that. Yeah, like if you turn it into no, but I'm not turning it into a male-female thing. She's just hopeless. She's absolutely hopeless.
I'm a bit different to others, okay? And I think there's some absolute morons out there that criticise Belinda Sharp. I think Belinda Sharp's a good referee. I think she's better.
I do too.
Some of the guys that are in first grade. Like, I think there's guys out there that just want to pick on women in general. So there's some morons out there that behave a particular way when it comes to anything to do with women in sport and all that sort of stuff. And obviously, being someone involved in the women's game, I'm very defensive with that stuff. But Casey Batcher's got nothing to do with being female from my end. Like, at the end of the day, she's incompetent. She's not up to the job. The biggest thing about that is if you're going to go and be nitpicky the whole game when it comes to any decision to overturn ours, make sure you do it all the time. Because if you go back and look at that, when Tarpany kicks the ball, Rob, Ethan Stranger's in front of him. So when Tarpany kicks the ball into Uppy, Ethan Stranger is the bloke that ends up picking up the ball, and he's in front of him. So he's offside of that second kick.
Yeah.
So you can't sit there and nitpick on everything, right? Does it make a difference? You're right. We don't know, but it does make a difference in that moment of the game. I think the problem for us is we took advantage of our spray of the referees, and Richo doubled down on it, which was really good.
Yeah.
Problem was we probably did it at the wrong time during a bye, because whilst it's a little bit thing, but we ended up getting Adam G and Casey Badger. You remember Adam G's never treated us well. He's the guy that day at Simbin up here at Shark Park for being not square at marker. He was square and Simbined him. The other night he got opportunities where Canberra was slowing us down. He knew that if he'd give away 2 but never give away the third one, because there was that standard set about 3 in a row. He knew not to do that. You look at the back end of the game and things like when Jareem tried to play the ball quickly, he ignored it. All of a sudden, there was no penalties there. Mate, I guarantee you there is referees, I'm not going to say they cheat against us, they just don't like us. Okay, and we're not a team, you've got to remember, every team has got players also that are respected. We've got villains in our team. Jerome's our captain. He's a villain in the game. The referees don't treat him well. You see the way they speak to some of our players sometimes, and then you go watch the Roosters and the way Tedesco carries on every single time there's a call, but they sit there and they take it from him. So we are who we are. I've already had my piece previously about, and I've got to compliment Benji and even Richo for what he said in his podcast about the fact that that's just how you get treated. I texted you last night about the South Sydney game against Melbourne. Melbourne's supposed to win that game in extra time. Peter Goff, two sets of rules for Melbourne and South in extra time, because Melbourne is supposed to win the game. I have no
Do you want to
doubt about
elaborate?
this.
I know it's not West Tigers, Adel, but do you want to elaborate on what you told me there exactly, so people don't know what you're actually talking about?
Yeah, if you go back and watch extra time, there was a Melbourne get up, play the ball off the mark. Keon Kolomatangi looks at the referee, says he's walked away from the mark. They let it play on. The next set of 6, the Rabbitohs get the ball and tackle to Tyrone Munro, just trying to get up. He's got a Melbourne player on him, so he flings him off. The referee says, "No, you've got to let him get to marker." 2 sets of rules for 2 different teams.
Yeah, thank you.
Makes a bit.
No.
Yeah.
It is. It'd be nice to get the rub of the green that way. All right, look, you've touched on all the 3 tries. Just a few more things in the first half. Again, Adel, I keep complaining about last tackle options. 28th minute, we give the ball to Mason on the last tackle. I don't know what's going on. If he's not aware of the situation, he dies with the ball on the last tackle. Then 2 minutes later, Luai puts up a really good bomb that we contest for on the Raiders' right side of the field, and Savage just has a little fumble with it as he goes down to the ground. So we do win the ball there. Now, again, call me a whinger because I don't mind. I love the whinge. Okay, I'm gonna read this out to you, Adel. In the 31st minute, Canberra concede a 6 again, then a penalty which we tap, then a 6 again. Then in the 32nd minute, May knocks on. Then Strange knocks on from that ensuing set when Toa grabbed the ball and almost got through the line when he ran that diagonal angle towards the left-hand corner post. And then we get a 6 again straight after that, mate. So basically in a gap of 3 minutes, we've gone 6 again penalty, 6 again, 6 again. They don't even get a warning. Like, we would have had Luai in the sin bin by now. And I just thought to myself, we're not going to win this game. And I was just absolutely disgusted that I'd even taken the drive out to Campbelltown, because we don't get refereed the same way. And again, I want to repeat this. We still might not have won the game. I don't think our attack is good enough. And we had, just to be clear, we had enough ball to win 2 games of football. Okay, and enough opportunities and enough red zone attack. There's just some attention to detail that I keep saying that seems to be lacking, because I can only judge what I see on the field. Some great last tackle options, some absolute garbage last tackle options. How did you see those last few minutes, Adel, when we had all that ball on the line and we couldn't do anything with it?
I'm going to compliment them. Look, it wasn't great. I'm going to compliment the fact that for some reason, like you said earlier, Rob, we found a way where we don't actually get flustered. Even when our attack doesn't look good, we don't get, like, sometimes you can come up with some bad stuff. Look, Heath Mason running the ball on last, that's on him. He's the 5'8". I feel sorry for Heath Mason. Heath Mason is not up to first grade. You know, I sat and watched Heath Mason play SG ball last year, and I said he's a couple of years off playing first grade. Like, at best, he's a utility player potentially playing off the bench, but you know, it's not his fault that he's playing. But we need someone to play the role at the moment, while Laftu's still on a minutes restriction. So it's hard to really blame him. But I don't think he's a first grader yet. Remember, we had idiots last year that were thinking he's better than Buller at fullback. Like, there's still people actually that think that. Let's be honest. I think we showed that we can still be patient, and even though we're not scoring points, we're still knocking on teams' doors, and we're still turning up, and then we're defending the next. One thing I remember with us the last couple of years is if we attack the line for 3 or 4 minutes, Rob.
Yeah.
Usually, what will happen is it's almost like we're going through a post-mortem after we don't score after those 4 or 5 minutes. The other team will go down on the other end and score. That's one thing we haven't done this year, which has been good. Is even if we haven't scored after consecutive play the balls in their opposition 20, we've actually defended the next sets pretty well, and we've got more and more opportunities. So that's a positive. It would have been nice, wouldn't it, to have scored one just before halftime at 16-6 or 16-4. Probably makes a difference. Obviously, in the end scoreline, it makes a difference, but I think it would have made a difference in the game for sure.
You're talking about the long break that Strange made, and The tackle Mason missed earlier, and they made the break down the left wing, and who was chasing. I mean, I know Jareen Buller got penalised a couple of times and had a couple of ball drops, dropped a goal line drop out in the second half or what have you, but his effort plays, Adel, they can't be questioned. Like, we're on our line and under the pump, and Appy put one of those short dropouts straight down the middle of the field that he took brilliantly and ran away. And then even on half time, he's got the audacity, and this is the no quit in him. This is that thrive and survive video that we saw in pre-season where he wants to take it on himself. He puts that grubber kick through, which is probably a 10% chance of getting a regather, let alone going 80 metres and scoring a try, but he doesn't quit. And even later on in that play, he gets the ball back in that play when Savage kicks it, and he tries another little grubber kick. Like, he's got no quit in him. So, look.
No, and it's something that should be commended. And I will never stand for Buller being criticised. I see it. It's hard for me, Rob, to hold my tongue sometimes when I see idiot fans of ours. And yes, I call them idiot fans, because anyone that criticises Buller's football, the only part of his game he needs to improve is, there's probably two. One is probably his execution on 3-on-2s, which will come naturally. The guy's 21 years old, 22 years old, whatever he's, however old he is. The other part is his organisation at fullback. But if you go and watch, the fullbacks in our game over all the years, these guys are not getting that part of the game right till they're 24, 25, 26, 6, 7 years in five, or not 6, 7 years, but at least 4 or 5 years in first grade. So that's going to come. He's just going to get better and better. Mate, he's the one guy that in our team, like, he's our player of the year. I know that Terrell May's been outstanding, but he's been our best player so far this year, easily.
Yeah, look, I know you've touched on Mason and Seyfarth, and look, I always believe you have a couple of weak links, you break the chain. I thought most of the team played really well. I just want to say on Heath Mason, in terms of attack, he does a lot of good things in attack. I mean, I know he's not the complete person at 5'8" yet, but when he gets the ball, if he can find himself in a position where he can back up, he does look a threat. He actually even looked threatening early in the second half. So I think he's got the potential on the attacking side of things to be a first grader. In terms of his defence, Adel, I know you might disagree with that, but in terms of his defence, you've got to be fair, because it's only his second or third game in the halves. I mean, I'm not going to judge him.
No, it's not on him. That was somebody telling me something. It's not on him.
That was a Mason family, mate.
It's not on him. Like, it's not his fault, but there needs to be, like, I don't
Mate,
know.
like you said, he's been thrown in the deep end. He's been thrown in the deep end, and it's just like, we've got to run with this. The guy's been mostly playing a fullback in cup. We have not trained him to be in the halves. He's not meant to be frontline defending. So,
but he also played pretty much all his junior football as a half, so he knows.
I get that, but he's not. I don't think he's the biggest bloke in the world. I'm just trying to be objective about this, because it's easy to point the finger at people. Even Seyfarth. I mean, he was. In my opinion, he was. Hear me out. I know you don't like him or don't want it. You're going to go at him, and that's fine. Because, mate, no one's gone at him more than me in the last couple of years. I don't even think he should be with the club. But he was still committed to chase a ball and get a try, and he had a significant involvement in creating that extra number when he turned his back into the defender, and Toa got the ball when Buller should have scored on the other side of the field, a tackle earlier. So I'm not saying they don't contribute, and no one is ever questioning how hard they try. The reality is we're just a couple of first graders short, at least, and those two unfortunately aren't what we need right now.
The problem for me is, and I find it hard to criticise the coaching. Your right edge needs to be your best defensive edge, because the common theme in the NRL is teams' strength is to attack their left sides.
Yeah.
So when you go to our right edge is our weakest defensive edge, and that's a problem for us. The hard part for me with Seyfarth is this. Tony Suka has shown that there is potentially something there.
Potentially.
When you have got that opportunity as a coach, especially when you're still learning about your squad, Rob, you probably need to pull the trigger. And it can't be that every week the same player comes up with 1, 2, 3 big moments in the game, big moments. Okay. But then the other thing I thought about doing with Seyfarth is I didn't want to be that guy that sat there and watched him play and thought, you know what, I'm not in love with him because he's got no sexy component to his game. So I've watched him in detail. The biggest problem I have with Alex Seyfarth is he does not win one tackle. Okay, he's so erratic in his control in defence that he just loses his legs. He's so eager to get people to ground. He loses the control. A lot of post-contact meters come on him. Again, it's not from the lack of effort. I just don't think he has the ability. So that's where I sit there and I go, well, how can I defend that? I can't. I've got to speak it because that's what we're doing. So something's got to change. The penny must drop. To me, it looks like the club is desperate to try to get Kai Pearce-Paul before June 30th. So it'll be interesting to see if it happens this week.
Well, just to go further with that, Alex Seyfarth played 59 minutes straight the other night and made 14 run meters. So, I mean, obviously he didn't get many runs, but he's probably not the person, as you said, to be winning tackles. I think you'll find, I would hope anyway, given that we don't have much available and we're down to the depths of our squad, I think you'll find Suka will start. And Seyfarth seems to be a favourite of everyone in the club. I think you'll find him back in the middle rotation and starting from the bench against Manly.
But that makes sense. Makes no sense to me, Rob, because you've got Twiley, who Benji loves. You've got Terrell, Fanua, and Sione's been outstanding. So where does he actually fit in that rotation? You know, obviously the only difference is going to be if Latu then is ready to play 80 and they don't bring him on to play 13 for a little bit. Well, then I can understand that he goes into that rotation. It's going to be an interesting one. And I'm sure we're going to talk about Latu in a sec.
Yeah, we're also going to talk about our 17th man or our 14th man that never got on the field as well. All right, mate, I'll just be really quick. Look, not too quick, but early in the second half, we pretty much dominated play. We forced the goal line dropout. Unfortunately, Buller knocked it on, which let the air out a little bit. But then in the 49th minute, Seyfarth scores that try from a Luai grubber kick. Look, we'll talk more in depth about Luai later. Adel, he had a better game than he did in Origin, I thought, and he did some decent things in Origin, although he did quite a few bad things. I thought when Latu came on, it just absolutely opened up Jerome Luai. He had a little bit more room, and he was doing things that we haven't seen most of the year, and the sort of stuff that we want to see from him. He was putting Sam Weller through holes. He was putting Adam Dewey through holes. He did a lot of good things, and his grubber kicks are really on point lately.
His short kicking game is almost one of the most elite ones in the competition. His ability to kick the ball off both feet. If you see that Seyfarth try, it's actually off his right foot.
Yeah.
So that grubber kick that he's come up with, it's a try scoring play now. And what people need to understand is teams will prepare for it now. So it gives you that little bit of passiveness from their 3 and 2 man, because you've got to make sure that he can drop the ball on his foot in a split second. So you can't actually be up too hard or be up too square, because you've got to be ready to turn and chase. So yeah, it's a really, really strong part of his game, and he's probably got. I couldn't think of anyone else in the game that's got a better little grubber kick in behind the line than him. So yeah, it's a really good strength of ours. But look, what I think of him and how he's been playing. I actually think he's playing really well.
Yeah, he did play well, but I don't think you're talking about teams that are being prepared for it. Canberra couldn't have been too well prepared then, because we did it last week against Penrith off the right foot for Stafford's up.
The hard part is, Rob, I actually think he's become, and he did it in Origin, where his hand-eye coordination in regards to seeing what the defence is doing is triggering him to be able to put the kick in. So there must be a cue that he's got. So things like a centre really starting to move forward quicker than he drops the ball onto his foot. So I think he picks and chooses it really, really well. And there must be some sort of an indicator that he sees that sort of allows him to do it so quickly and so efficiently.
Well, we convert the try, mate, and that makes it 16-6. And then in the 54th minute, obviously we have this Toa try some great lead-up work from Luai to Dewey, who should have put Buller away, but I guess there was that Lebanese bias, and he thought a Lebanese try assist to a Lebanese try scorer looks good. Very selfish, a bit like the hooker from Canberra, Tom Starling, did his own try assist for his own try when Skelton dropped the ball. And then obviously from that play the ball, when 12 got tackled, we moved it out right. And look, I did mention it, mate. I think Seyfarth, backing into the line creates that extra number, and Toa does the rest.
Yeah, I'll give Seyfarth credit for that one. Look, I think we've got a frustrated centre on the left-hand side in Adam Dewey, who doesn't hit lines very well. He did that really well. We were very clunky on that left-hand side with our lack of cohesion in regards to our lines and just our shape. That was the one time Adam Dewey hit a really good line, and we scored, or we created really well off the back of it. So, that's a little bit what we're missing on that left-hand side of the field is a strike centre. I still go back to it. If Oldham wasn't injured, it's a big difference to our team and what we look like. But yeah, it was a good play. You should have went to Buller, but look, I'll never hate on anybody at the end of the day taking an option where we still have the ball live. Like, what would have been worse if he dummied and got tackled?
But I mean, if we bombed that try, we all just would have been saying, mate, like, seriously, you got a sports car on your right and you got a horse and cart on your a sports car on your left and a horse and cart on your right. Like, it's just a no-brainer. Like, anyway.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Before we continue, what are your thoughts on Adam Dewey's sign with Isaac Moses?
Look, I'm not reading anything sinister into that, Adel. I just think Adam manages himself, or had previously managed himself. I think Adam's been shopping himself around and probably not getting the results he wants. So he figures, you know what, I'm going to go to someone. I mean, obviously he knows that the club isn't very happy with that particular manager. So, but again, Adam wants to get the best results for himself. And if he can't get himself the best deal, I mean, that's why managers are there. So I'm not reading anything more into it that Adam's not a great player manager, and he couldn't get the deal he wants. So, I think Adam's playing reasonably well of late.
It's weird because he was with Sam Ayoub, left Sam Ayoub to do his own, and now he's gone to Isaac Moses. So, yeah, weird one for me.
Well, look, again, it just came about randomly, but I think, anyway, I don't know if it's Adam or one of his relatives, but I think they're looking to buy some property, mate. So wherever they can save some money in management fees, I'm sure they're trying to avoid that. Adam actually makes that conversion. He scrapes the ball just inside the right-hand upright as we're looking at it. We're back to 16-12. 56th minute, Adel, Buller gets stripped by Fogarty. We've wasted our challenge with Terrell May from earlier in the game. Let's go back a bit. Was the May challenge a poor challenge? Did you think it should have been upheld, or was that just a dumb challenge?
No, look, I think potentially she got the right call. But my only problem with it is I've watched Casey Badger as a video ref or a bunker official. And whenever there's a challenge, she sits there and she mulls over decisions. She didn't over this one. It was just immediately a knock on. That's what pissed me off about it. Look, I think that May believed it was a thing. But again, my argument with challenging a call like that is, what's the alternative? The alternative is you're giving them the ball 5 meters out from their line. So why challenge? Look, I'm going to say it, across the competition, there's some brain dead people. The Broncos today challenged. Oh, it wasn't the Broncos. It was, it might have been the Broncos challenged twice. Yeah, there was one today where, like, I got penalised for a tackle in the air. And the guy caught the ball anyway. So then they challenged it because it was a penalty. And I thought to myself, well, what's the difference? Like, if you win the challenge, they still got the football. Yeah. But then there was the one at halftime today where, it was going to get kicked out and Reynolds challenged it right on halftime. Like, I think the players and the coaches in the competition are really brain dead when it comes to their strategy on captain's challenges. I don't understand why you would challenge anything early in the game. I generally don't.
I agree with you, and they've got no right of reply on this podcast to find out why. But I think some of the the tactical side of it. I just think most coaches they've oversimplified it. Like they know a lot of players don't want to be overfed with information, but using your captain's challenge, it's so crucial because if we hadn't used ours, I'm pretty sure we win a penalty there. Look, middle of the second half, Adel.
Rob, that's the biggest myth in football, and you hear it quite a bit out of people in the media about players want to simplify things. The Bulldogs are the most detailed team. They've got the most detailed coach. I know how much the Melbourne Storm are detailed in what they do, and Penrith have got 7 assistant coaches, and they don't stop in their detail. Who have been winning the comps?
Well, we're lacking it, Adel. I mean, from what I see on the field, we're lacking it, and there's so many positives to what we're doing on the field, and we are so much better than previous years, and so much more competitive. So I don't want it to be all doom and gloom. I think long term, we've actually got a really, a good lot of potential and things to look forward to. But yeah, I can only judge what I see in the field. Like you've told me previously, I can't read Benji's mind or the assistant coach's minds and know what they're doing at training. But when I see what I see on the field, well, I think, well, hang on, there's, will we waste a challenge again early in the game like we did against Penrith? This week wasn't so bad. I think it was.
The problem is everybody else does it, Rob. Like the Roosters do it, Penrith do it. Like I've seen some of the elite teams. Challenges are the one things I don't think anyone in the competition has had a real think about. Like, yeah, I think they are just so. I think a lot of it's ego. A lot of it's the individual or the captain, especially when the captain makes an error. He's automatically challenge. So I don't know about challenges. I can't explain that one.
No, fair enough. Mate, I want to mention just a little, you've touched on Tara already. I just want to mention this brilliant bit of play that I rewatched today in the 60th minute. He got the ball on the last tackle, probably about 20 metres out from the Raiders line with absolutely nothing to work with, no room to work with, no space, no nothing. And he fends off, I think it might have been Chris, and then he does this skiddly flick pass, like literally a bullseye onto Taruva. Like he's just really, his attacking ability has just come from nowhere, and it's on a weekly basis.
Incredible. His ability with the football is incredible. He just needs, listening to what Benji said about him at the start of the year, he must have some lingering stuff injury-wise that doesn't allow him to be at 100% for 80 minutes in a game. But mate, his ability to attack, his ability to beat his man one-on-one is freakish.
Mate, I've got to mention this a couple of minutes later, and you can put this up on the board because you will rarely ever see me criticise Api Coruscant. He's been our heart and soul for 2.5 years, and one of the best players in the competition. But Luai puts Samuela through a hole, which I mentioned to you earlier, who gives it to Latu, and Latu Fainu goes on this amazing run, gets tackled as you're looking at it on TV, to closest side to the TV, 10 or 15 out, and for some reason, Appy chooses to go blindside. I think it might have been to Adam, and it was just an awful way to end the set when we had him on the back foot. I dare say if we go open side, we might have even got a ruck infringement or a penalty for them being offside. They were absolutely scattered. These are the moments, Adel, where I believe we're not making our own luck because we're doing a lot of good things and we're just lacking that polish. And I was just gobsmacked. And I think Luai actually blew up when Coruscant went the blind side as well. It's just one of those moments, mate. You just wish you could have that back again. I know they're human. I know they're going to make mistakes, but who do you want to give the ball to? Your co-captain and your main playmaker, or to Adam running across the blind side with a 3-on-4, basically? Like there's just nothing doing.
Yeah, don't know in that situation. Like, what's the left centre doing on that side of the field anyway? Yeah, look, yeah, this is the stuff that we just miss. That's how close we are with a lot of these things.
I know we're close.
Stuff where I'm going, if you look back, and you talked about it earlier in the year about some of the games we should have won, but it's starting to pile up, isn't it? But it's the luxury of actually we're getting in the situation that we've been starved of over the last couple of years. We're actually talking about You know, we missed this game by that much and that game by that much and this moment and that moment. Whereas in the past, we've never even had those. So that's the positive part.
Well, I stand corrected, Adel, but everyone complains about Campbelltown and it's this and it's that. And again, I really enjoy going out there, particularly because the club's next door. But we're 0-4, and I stand corrected. But I think the combined losses of the 4 games is about 10 points.
Yeah,
It's like 2, 2, and 4. I beg your pardon?
Two against the Knights, 2 against the Warriors, 2 against
South.
4 last night, and 2 against South, wasn't it?
Yes, that's about 10 points in 4 games.
Yeah.
Like that's nothing. So it just shows you so near yet so far. What else is there to talk about? Obviously, there was a correct call, I believe, with Samuela Fainu's no try from a Terrell May pass. But again, I mean, if I want to go back to Jed Stewart's try, I thought Sebastian Chris might have thrown it forward, and even the commentators called it forward, having watched the replay today.
On that one, Rob, and it could be just what do they call it when an illusion, optical illusion?
Yeah.
Live, I thought something, and then I heard Latu say it hit him, and I watched it again on the program I've got that you can see a couple of different angles, and it makes sense to me what they were saying. It looked like to me that when Terrell passes the ball, why would Terrell just throw the ball forward like that? It looked like
it deflected.
He threw it backwards and it deflected off Papali'i and went forward. And Latu actually says it to the referee, it hit him. And then I've seen it live and I thought the same thing. And then I watched another replay because I thought to myself, am I going crazy? Like, is it an optical illusion? But then when I heard Latu say it, I'm like, I wonder if it did hit him. Again, this is the stuff we don't get, right? Like,
I've got to be honest, Adel.
We've seen some crazy
deflection. I didn't see deflection.
But we've also had situations this year where the most blatant forward passes get thrown for tries against us and they miss them. So will we ever get one of those? Like, it would have been nice. I just want one game this year where we turn around and go, oh, we got that. That was ridiculous, but we got it. We just don't get it.
Yeah, it seems to happen on a weekly basis. Adel, you were mentioning Alex Twal earlier. In the 71st minute, we're on the attack. Joseph Tarpanay does a one-on-one strip on Alex Twal. Look, they're pretty common in the game. It's not like, that happens once every blue moon. You probably get, 3 to 5 around when you're watching every weekend. That was pretty much the last time we got in the red zone, and that was a huge moment for us, and we never really recovered from that. I mean, obviously, Skelton has that penalty for the hair.
Can we go to the set before when Jareen Buller puts the ball on the line?
Yeah, we can go to that. Okay, you tell me your thoughts on that.
Well, I watched that in what they call like the program that I've got, which allows me to slow it down. That was going to be, if that went to the video ref, Rob, that was going to be an interpretation of the bunker, because when he's on the ground initially, the defender's not on him. He gets to the line, no doubt about it.
So it's not a double movement.
Well, this is going to be the interpretation. Then, as he's starting to promote the ball, Weeks touches him. So technically speaking, the video referee could say that once you are on the ground and you get touched, the tackle is complete. But he is actually in the motion of promoting the ball. So it would have come down to her interpretation.
Oh, well, if it's a 50-50, we're not getting it, mate. So don't even tease us with it.
But the point is, I didn't even check it, Rob.
Yeah.
Like, what if he wasn't tackled? Because that's not what they ruled. If you ruled double movement, it's different, right? He's ruled he's not even reached the line. He's 100% the ball has touched the line. So it's either a try or a double movement. It's not play on.
But do you think in that split-second moment, and I really do say split-second moment, that Jareem's thought, shit, maybe I have done a double movement, I better quickly play the ball? Because otherwise he'd stay down, or he'd plead his case and say, I'm pretty sure I got the ball. Now, can you check it?
Because he doesn't see. His head's actually down.
Yeah, of course he doesn't see. But I think he thought it was a double movement. And that's why he wanted to get up and play it before something happened. Yeah,
potentially. We can't think into his mind. But who's our right winger? Skelton? Taruva. No, Taruva actually points to it. He points to it. He says the ball's on the line. Again, what's the touch judge doing? Look, I'll be honest with you. I would rather a double movement because I'm sitting there going, they check everything these days. How do they not check that?
Yeah. A couple of things just to finish with on the game notes, Adel. I mentioned Skelton pulling Savage's hair, and look, it's a bit like people are going to say, well, what comes first, the leg pull or the hair pull? I'm going to say what comes first is Savage being offside from the bomb that Skelton catches. Like if you get, like you just said earlier about looking at the whole thing, Adele, and finishing it off. Like obviously the video ref didn't finish off that first challenge, which Canberra won. And in the same instance here, the video ref hasn't gone back to the whole play because I know they're challenging whether it's the hair pull, but everything is under review once you do the challenge from that previous tackle. You just can't challenge one particular moment. If we're checking a try, we're watching it from the whole play the ball. So talk to me.
So the technicality on that, right, is if you drop the ball and someone hits you in the head, it's still a penalty. It's foul play. So what people will say is the offside actually doesn't matter because of the foul play. But here's my point. If Ziggy Dighead on the sideline over there actually calls Savage out, as soon as he makes contact, the referee blows the whistle, the hair pull doesn't happen. But then I go back and watch. But I go back. Do you think Jarrell Skelton is just going to grab someone's hair, pull it? Do you know why he was pulling it? Because Savage was yanking his ankle. I'd like to see you get your ankle.
To be fair, G gave us a penalty. Like Adam G does give us a penalty. But like you said, those touch judges are so incompetent. I mean, I couldn't tell live because I'm on the other side of the ground. But, you know, Appy Coruscant kicks a 40-20 that Stewart puts his foot on the line and bats it in, and the replay showed that his foot's on the line. We don't get that call. And, I mean, all I'm thinking is the touch judge just has a straight line ahead of him to see whether the foot's on the ground or not, even if he's 50 metres back because he's too slow.
Well, on top of that, going back to the Savage one with Skelton, again, it's the Casey Badger. It's like she had her hands rubbing her hands together, waiting because Adam G actually says to her, "I believe he's grabbed his ankle." She has not even acknowledged that. She's one, two. If you push down on someone's head and you're grabbing his head, like that's not a hair pull. That's a push down with you grabbing his hair. But mate, you and I both know the moment anything went to her, we did not get a call off her. I'd like to know the last time we got a call off her. We all know the famous incident last year where she just absolutely slaughtered us at ANZ that day at a core stadium.
Who was that against? Was that against Canterbury?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I think that seems to have escaped my memory. All right, mate. Look, and I want to just say one final thing, Adele, and I'm normally not this sort of eternal optimist. I couldn't believe it just watching it again because I'd seen it watching the second half in West Campbelltown. That last play of the game, the grubber kick or the kick ahead from Luai, you don't realise how close that is. If that pops up for Buller, he's got Toa outside him and there's one guy in front of him. Now I know there's going to be cover defence, but if Buller gets that ball and can stay alive after passing it to Toa, you just got to watch the bounce of that ball. It just stays so low and did not pop up. Like 9 times out of 10, that ball would pop up. And again, it's what you're referring to as, you know, if only we can get that bit of luck. Yeah, and I just, you know, like I just thought it was a nothing last play, but watching it today, I'm like, geez, that was so close to being something really, you know, a big finish on full time.
There's another one earlier. We put up a bomb. It bounces off somebody and it bounces straight into their winger's hand. If it's about anywhere on the field, it goes to them. You know, when Skelton drops the ball, goes straight to Starling. Like, just we just can't get the bounce of the ball at the moment. The only thing we've got bounce of this year, and we got rewarded, we won the game, was when Jaden Sewer dropped the ball over the line.
Yeah. Oh, that was a 12-point turnaround, that one. That probably won us the game. Mate, tell me who impressed you the most. I'm happy to let you just go for it here. And if you can tell me why they impressed you.
Tonight, Rob, I'm going to keep it very, very simple. I'm going to talk about one player and one player only, and his name is Latu Fona. I'll tell you what, his resilience as a kid who's, you know, battled injuries over the last couple of years is so impressive. We're talking about a half who came onto the field, who's been asked to play in the middle to build his game back up. Watch his carries, first of all. He carried almost as good as our middles. He never shirked that responsibility of having just a one-out carry the football. And then watch his defense. Then you watch his ability to break tackles. This is all not playing in his natural position. And, I know early in the year I carried on about Isaiah Katoa, and I think people are starting to see how good he is now. I know at training over the last couple of years, the opinion the coaches, the players have of Latu. I could imagine Jerome coming from Penrith, playing with someone like Nathan, turning up, and I'm not having a crack at Galvin here, but turning up and going, holy shit, Latu's going to let me play my game because he plays very similar to Nathan, where he's got good tempo, he straightens up really well, he can take the line on, different to Galvin, who was creating pretty much for himself. Like, it was all about creating for himself in how he ran the ball. So the solution is there, okay? We don't know, again, about the sports science and what's going on with Latu's body and why they're managing him at the moment. I think it's actually really unselfish of Benji to do what he's doing because he needs to win football games. And I think he knows, he knows that Latu on the field, it makes us a better football team. I have no doubt about it. I hope he's ready to go this week. The other thing I'd do is I'd start him, Rob. Like, at the end of the day, if he can't play 80 minutes, you're using 2 interchanges anyway. Like, on the weekend, you used him to come on and then Mason to come off to put him in the halves. So if you need to use 2 changes, you just start him, take him off for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and put him back on. That's your 2 changes again. So, put Jack Bird at 5'8" for 15 minutes in the game with a bit of good defense and some toughness, right? But I think we need to start the game with him.
Yeah, I think. Look, I accidentally called him Sione Katoa last week on the West Tigers podcast. Not only do I think he plays like Katoa, he's actually a better defender than Katoa. Katoa is unbelievable with the ball and attack and how he can create space. Latu's not there yet, but he will be. But as a defender, some of those tackles he hit the other night, he wasn't just catching players, Adel. He was hitting them. He was giving him the full force of his body.
You tell me one half in your recollection in the last 10 years that has come into first grade that would be able to do what he's doing right now, playing as a middle. You see it the other way around sometimes. You see guys come into first grade in the halves and then they get a bit bulkier and they build a bit and then they go into the forwards. He's doing it the opposite way. It's crazy.
Yeah, no, he's amazing. You don't want to touch on anyone else in terms of the good stuff?
No. Today, I think he deserves it. I think as a club we need to hand him the keys. Obviously, injuries being all good and well, but even with that, like, if he gets injured again and he's still, you look at the Roosters and the patience they've shown with someone like Robert Toya over 3 years. We never seen Robert Toya in first grade. But when there's something special, you know what you do, Rob? You trust it, and you back it, and you show them the faith that you want to show someone who wants to be there in the long term.
Yeah, I'm salivating over Bulla, Luai, Latu, and Appy for a few years. That is something to build on. Look, Bulla was my best, and I do want to mention a lot of other players. I'm not going to talk about them, but I thought Taruva was good, Dewey was good, Toa was good, Skelton was good. It was unfortunate when he got pushed back into the in-goal when we just got out of our in-goal. I actually called it before it happened. Everyone played really well. I thought Appy was quiet. Again, it was one of those games that wasn't an Appy Coruscant sort of type of game. He only had 18 metres, so he really didn't go much from dummy half. Sione Fainu, Adel, what did you think of him starting the game? I thought he did very well as a starter, and I thought it actually advantaged Bolle. Bolle was excellent coming off the bench.
Yeah, I think we can attack our middles. I don't think it matters who our combinations are. I've said it before. I'd love to see Fanua and Sione start. I'd love to see Terrell May come off the bench. Yeah. Put him on after 15, 20 minutes, and then guess what? He can play his 60 minutes straight for the back end of the game. and have a little bit of what that impact was at the Roosters, where he sort of come onto the field and made a bit of an impact. I'd love to see that happen. Look, like you said, it's hard to criticise them because we fight, don't we? We fight really well.
Yeah, it's just lacking, like I keep saying, mate, we're just lacking some polish, lacking some attention to detail, and we're actually lacking just a couple of players. Keep saying it, mate. A couple of weak links and that chain's gone. Adel, it seemed like we were trying to back end our energy. We in recent weeks have come over the top of teams, whether we've won or not, whether it's South, whether it's Penrith, even the consolation sort of prize coming home against the Cowboys. We're finishing off our game strongly. The interchange this week seemed to be catered for that type of performance. We only used 2 interchanges in the first half. Bolle came on in the 22nd minute for Sione Fainu, and Latu Fainu came on in the 27th minute for Alex Twal. A little bit unusual, we only used 2 interchanges, but I've got no problem with it because obviously that was a tactic. I want to ask you about the lack of not using talent at all, given his one strength is running from dummy half and like getting momentum and taking advantage of tired defenders. And we certainly dominated possession and territory in that second half. I thought it was highly unusual that we didn't use him. And it is a criticism because, I mean, it's easy to be captain hindsight, but it is a criticism. But it's not like he couldn't have offered anything, and we could have still kept Appy out there. They could have almost had a bit of a tandem role. Tell me what you thought of not using talent.
Yeah, look, first of all, I think it's pretty common these days that teams are only using 2 interchanges in the first half. I agree with you. I think Benji or whoever does our interchange missed the beat on that. Benji said it after the game. Uppy can play 7. So they talked about why Talon was on the bench and Latu, and he sort of explained that Jerome's come off Origin. We had Uppy there to play halfback if we needed him to at certain stages in the game, and then Talon could have come on. But in the modern day, especially when you're chasing the game and you've already shown you can do it with Latu, you're trying to win the game. Like if we were ahead and Talon didn't come on, I would have been okay with it.
Same here.
With 15 to go, Uppy's proven that he can play in the halves and he can play a link role. And you've done it before during the year. I would have put Talon on. I would have put Uppy at 13 or play like a 13, like another ball player, because that's where we're at our strength when we're shifting the ball, when Latu's come on and played lock. If you've got Latu on one side, Uppy on the other, Jerome on the other, Uppy in the middle, and Talon threatening out a dummy half who's fresh, I think they missed the beat on that one. I absolutely think that. Like, you can say whatever you want about Talon. I've got my criticism of him, especially with what's going on at the moment. But the one thing I'll say about him is he probably breaks the game. Like, I can't say he probably breaks the game, but he's a chance of creating something with the work Canberra had to do.
Exactly.
Especially those big forwards. So I 100% think they've missed that. Look, there may be more to it. You don't know. Like, Benji's answer after the game about whether he's going to still be here till June 30. It almost looks like Benji's fed up.
Yeah.
Like, it almost looks like it's got to a stage where now he's like, if you don't want to be here, don't be here. So there could have been a little bit of, I'll put you on, because he didn't play cup yesterday as well. There could have been, I'm going to put you on the bench unless I really need you. I'm not going to play you.
Well, that's basically what he alluded to in the press conference. He said he was there as backup for Appy, and obviously, we could have switched things if something went wrong with Latu or Mason and played Appy in the halves.
Rob, and look, I know that people talk about, you don't begrudge someone going to another club if you want to get a position, right? But there is a difference. And I'm not comparing myself. I'm going to use 2 examples of players at other clubs. And I'm not comparing us to the Melbourne Storm, but I think you can compare us to the Newcastle Knights if you want. At the Melbourne Storm, Tyrone Wishart has been sitting behind Jerome Hughes, Harry Grant for years as an interchange player. Okay? He's been learning his craft. He's got offers and he stayed there. Someone like Jonah Pezzett has stayed at Melbourne. But the big one for me was Fletcher Sharp. Fletcher Sharp's got Kalen Ponga on a 6-year deal in front of him. But he's from Newcastle. He's a Newcastle kid. He's still young. He's still learning. You know what he did? I stayed at Newcastle.
Do you think you'll still stay there though? Would you still stay there knowing Dylan Brown's coming there? Or are you going to put him on the wing? Like what?
His
Where are you going to
contract,
play?
he re-signed. Fletcher Sharp re-signed.
So where does he expect to play, you think? I mean, not that it relates to West Tigers stuff.
Six.
So where will Dylan Brown play?
7.
Okay.
The thing is, I coached against Dylan Brown in SG ball. Dylan Brown was a 7 growing up. He played 7 in Harold Match, 7 in SG ball.
Okay.
He was the halfback. He carved us up in a semi-final of SG ball in 2017. Absolutely killed us playing halfback.
Mate, we've discussed Alex Seyfarth. We've discussed Heath Mason. You've touched on a moment that Alex Twal wasn't great. Is there anyone that you want to touch on? I know it's not nice to criticise people, but is there any other players in that team that you thought lacked in terms of effort? Because I thought it was a pretty wholehearted effort overall from everyone. But did anyone disappoint you that we might not have seen, that you might have seen from a coach's lens?
No. I thought it was that you were right. There was that little period in the first half, Rob. There's that little period in the first half. Look, I won't criticise. You and I have differentiating opinions. I won't criticise Dewey because he's not a centre playing centre, so he's really filling the role. But you can tell he's frustrated, in my opinion. I think he looks frustrated playing at centre. Plus, at the end of the day, the guy's playing for a contract at the moment, so I think he wants to show that he can do more than one thing. But I don't think he's doing anything wrong. I just think that not having a genuine strike centre on the left-hand side is a big difference. Someone who can beat someone one-on-one with a bit of speed, But yeah, other than that, no, I can't be critical.
What changes do you see to our team next week? Who comes in? Who goes out?
Well, I think Latu will play. You have to start. I think it's time to start him. Like I said, even if the minutes restriction is used in a different way, I think you have to start him. I don't know what you do with Heath Mason. I don't know if you put him on the bench. You probably do. And he probably turns into the player that doesn't come on unless needed. He's probably the perfect player to have on the bench. If you're going to not use 17, which I'm a pretty big fan of. I've done it heaps of times before. Heath Mason's probably the guy you want to put on the bench because he can cover so many places in the back line.
So does Seyfarth go right off? Does Seyfarth just miss out on your 17?
Yeah, I think right Eastwood. Is it? Yeah.
Don't be like that. Don't be like that.
Well,
Mate,
but no, I don't think there was anyone else coming back. Is there, Rob? We had everybody
come back this week.
Week.
Yeah, we
had
had
everybody available.
Yeah, everyone that wants to be at the club available anyway.
I would genuinely give Jack Bird a crack at right back row first. Now that you've got, and potentially put Seyfarth back to play the role that Jack Bird's kind of playing, I'd like to see Jack Bird starting in the back row.
Yesteryear, Adel, I would have. I like the fact that Jack only has to play 30-odd minutes, and I feel like he's actually someone that used to be a little bit injury prone. I just think we're getting the best out of Jack Bird the way we're doing it now. I like what he did the other night. He was great. I don't think he missed a tackle. He added some oomph. He's bought into the West Tigers culture and what we're trying to build. I don't know. Look, if I knew he could handle 80 minutes week in, week out, I would agree with you, but I can't in this instance. I don't think he can handle the workload every week, Adel.
Fair
enough. Mate, did you get to see our West Tigers best ever team draft last Wednesday night?
I did, yeah. That was pretty entertaining, to be honest. I'd probably disagree with some of the things that were said about how you pick the players, and sort of I think there was a little bit of sentimental selections from your opposing team, but I thought it was good. I thought I'd probably take your team over the other team.
What do you mean probably, mate? What do you mean probably? I don't even know where they're going to get points from. I don't know how they even make a dent in my team.
Yeah, and I think, look, at the end of the day, when you're picking those teams, you've got to presume everybody's at their best.
Correct.
And the reason why I take your team is purely on two players, is Benji and Tedesco. Those two at their best. Benji at his best could win. Remember that year where he's the best player in the world, like
2010. Yeah.
Benji at his best beats everybody, let alone another West Tigers team. Like, with all due respect,
Yeah.
Benji made when we were our best version of ourselves. It was always because Benji Marshall was playing elite football. In 2005, I probably give Scott Prince a bit of a reason for that as well, or a significant reason. But you take Benji out of that, even that 05 team, I think we don't have the extra little bit. So the moment you got Benji on your side, to me, that's the biggest tick. Like, because again, you're putting everybody at their best. And then Tedesco, mate. Tedesco's last couple of years with us, the guy you couldn't tackle the guy. I know that he went to the Roosters and everything he's done at the Roosters, but I think we forget the last, like, in a pretty poor team, he was unbelievable.
Yeah.
You look at that. I think the teams just come up on the screen. That 1-7, including Robert Louis, that 1-7 is absolutely phenomenal. You're talking about Lottie and Terry Hill, who played for Australia. Like, again, we're talking about people's best. Lottie and Terry Hill played for Australia. Paddy Richards, Paul Fataria, Paul Fataria was with us, absolutely elite. Benji, we already know.
He was elite with Penrith too. Hey, Josh, if you can get that whole team on the screen and get rid of our images, because we can only see the first 4 players if you're able to do that. Can you see it? Oh, I can't see it on mine. Okay, I can only see the top 4 on mine. That's interesting. Maybe because I'm on my phone. Look, it was a bit of fun. Look, I'll give them. They have the best game manager, no doubt, in Scott Prince. But I put it this way: I think if you swap Tedesco and Marshall into their team, and maybe give them one of my back rowers, Ellis or Dwyer, then you've probably got a 50-50 game. But I just think we've probably got the 3 best players we've ever had in Benji, Robbie, and Gareth Ellis. But anyway, it was really good fun with the boys. I really enjoyed that, and we should do more things where there's a bit of fun and games to it. And I'm glad you agree that my team was better, mate. So I hope Gary and Eddie are listening.
Hang on. It wasn't your team. It was you and Josh's team.
It was me and Josh. But I'm saying, Josh isn't here to defend himself at the moment. He's sitting in silence, producing the show. Mate, tell us about our 12-4 loss today to the Dragons very quickly, mate. If you can sum it up in a couple of minutes.
Very disappointing.
Is there any encouragement for the season coming up in terms of what you saw? No. I mean, it's still a trial.
Yeah, look, they need a significant improvement. The problem the NRLW squad has got, and it was very evident today, is there is no yardage carries at all out of the back line. I'll say this: Emily Bass played in the centres, so she's one of the signings, but obviously someone has played on the wing. She actually looked pretty good playing in the centres, so there's someone that was good. Evie McGrath didn't play today because she played Origin the other night, but I'm 99% sure she's locked in a spot as a starting half. The battle was apparently between Faith Manera and Lasana Lutu, and let's not go down that path. But I actually don't think Lasana Lutu will play round 1, Rob. And if that happens, well, that's that we'll talk about that if that happens. Kezi was really good. Like, she looked a class above everybody else on the field as a forward. Her and Christian were our 2 best forwards. Everything else of what we do was really was disappointing. Our only try was scored by the young girl I spoke to Aaron about from our Tasha Gale squad, who to me would be my starting team every week, in my starting 17. But she's a dev player. She scored our only try, just bullying over from I think it was dummy half. Look, I hope there's improvement. I hope there's something we're going to see that with improvement, but I'm a bit worried.
Well,
I'm very worried.
Let's hope they improve, mate. It is, we never put much credence into men's trials, so let's hope it's the same for the women. We'll sort of start to wrap up the show, mate. Your thoughts on, I know we don't know the teams yet, obviously, but I'm assuming for Manly, Lehigh Hopewadi comes in next week, having had that couple of weeks off for the concussion, mandatory concussion. Can we beat Manly, who seem to be a very different team at Four Pines Park. That seems to be their best character when they're there.
Oh, I don't even think it's about 4 points. I think they're the team that when they're on, they're one of the hardest teams to beat in the comp. And when they're off, you can get them. So we've got to do our part by turning up the right attitude. I want to see us front load our energy this week. I want to see us really try to start fast. Because I think if you get ahead of Manly, you can sort of put them off their game, whereas they like to front run. So I think the first 20 in this game is going to be really important. Just whilst we're on the topic of next week's game, I
was going to mention that. But you've stolen my thunder.
No, I will honour the bet. The bid will be coming off. I just didn't have a chance to after the game this weekend.
It's not what you told me Friday night. I mean, I don't think anyone's listening, but I mean, you did tell me that it wasn't coming off because of Adam G and Casey Badger. But
I was gonna activate the Adam G Casey Badger
clause,
but no, it will come off. I don't do it myself. I've got to get a barber to do it. So.
Mate, I'm a fair sport, mate. If you want to have another bet of some sort, then I'll let you preserve your beard and we'll use it for another occasion. Just on Manly too, Adel. Look, Turbo looks busted, having watched him play the Gold Coast, and obviously Ola Kawadu is gone now. Like they've lost a bit of strike there. There's no reason why we can't beat them, and we have to beat them. Like, geez, every week we say we have to. We've gone from 5-4 to 5-9. So, look, I think the effort's always going to be there, whether we win or lose. It's just, can we execute, and can we just be a little bit more refined in the red zone and have some consistent last tackle options? We've got some good ones. We just mix them up with some rubbish, dying with the ball, poor kicks, this sort of thing. But then you see brilliant plays and you think, why aren't we doing this all the time?
What's the chances Brooksy has the game of his life this week?
Oh, he'll be motivated. No, I think we'll be right. We're going to be targeting that side, given how right side dominant we are. We just got to show the ball to him and throw the dummy, because Brooksy's always going for that left-handed intercept when he pops his hand up and goes for the gap. So just throw the dummy to Brooksy and go through dream ball.
Well, when we played him last year, Latu played and he absolutely carved up. And obviously Latu, both the Whanau boys played for Manly, so they always get up for those two games. So this is, if there's ever a year where you want to be sort of hot and cold, and we've been a little bit cold lately, this is the year, because all you got to do is I said this previously, like, even if it's fluking it, you just got to fluke a couple of wins, Rob, and you go 3-4 positions up the ladder again. It's crazy in this competition this year.
No, it is. We're only a couple of games out of the 8. But unfortunately, we're sliding down a bit, Adel. If I'm not mistaken, we're sitting 14th at the moment. What did Parramatta do? Does Parramatta jump ahead of us now? I can't even remember. I looked at the ladder prior to the Parramatta Gold Coast game.
No, we're still ahead of Parramatta on for and against.
Okay,
we're in 4th.
All right.
Though.
Well, yeah.
But again, you said, if you win one game, 8th is on 17 points. We're on 14.
Yeah, well, we really, I guess the right thing to do is to try and focus on how we make the top 8. But I think most of us are just saying, please avoid the wooden spoon. We've got no excuses. Mate, we played the Gold Coast twice, who lost to Parramatta without their starting halves today. So if we can't beat the Gold Coast with, at full strength, there's something very wrong. But look, I'm glad that we're doing this podcast tonight and not Friday night, because it certainly would have been a different podcast from my point of view. You have absolutely completed my full recovery and therapy. I think I needed the whole 48 hours, mate, to get back to normal, because I was absolutely filthy at halftime on Friday night, and I just felt very glum. But having rewatched that game today, there's so much to look forward to, as you mentioned, in particular with Latu Whanau. If he stays on the field, mate, might not be this year, obviously, but our long-term future looks really cozy, and there were some other good performances there that probably will go a little bit unnoticed, given that Terrell May, Latu, Jareem, and those sort of guys dominated what looked like a good performance.
You know what I'd like to get, Rob, and this is going to preempt what I'm about to say. I'd like to actually get what our score is as a team. So what's our points difference when Latu's been on the field for us? I'd love to know that. Actually, I've got a few friends at the Fox Sports Lab that I'm gonna try to get that information. But I will
Well,
say this to you, Rob: if Latu stays on the field for the rest of the year, we will know. There's no chance we'll make we'll get the wooden spoon. We will be right lingering around 9th to 12th spot. And if a little bit of luck, you never know, we might get above that. But if he's on the field, we will not get the spoon. Like we will not. We will finish above where we are right now.
Well, Latu came on the field in the 27th minute, Adel, so I can tell you right now that the differential just for one game alone was 12-0 when Latu's on the field.
If you go off terminology that you talk about with other sports, and you go
NBA.
off our form, no, anything, whatever
Yeah.
you want to talk about. If you look at form, right? You look at our last 2 weeks. We've competed with Penrith, who lost to the Warriors, who beat the Warriors in New Zealand, who are on the way up. We just beat the Raiders, who nobody can beat. Sorry, we just lost to the Raiders, who nobody else can beat. Like you said, bar the Storm game, we've been able to compete week in, week out with teams. You know, we're a bounce of the ball, a decision, a try, a lack of effort from somebody else away from being, just give us 2 wins. You talk about if the last 2 games we get the Sorensen doesn't make that effort, and then Buller gets over the line and it's not a double movement, and we win those 2 games, Rob, we're in 7th spot. That's the craziness of this. Forget the games earlier in the year. I'm talking about just the last couple of weeks. It's crazy. It's absolute lunacy. You could go back to the Newcastle game. You can go back to the Warriors game. Like, I get it that teams like the Raiders and the Warriors and all that, but those teams, you know what the difference has been? They've had the bounce of the ball go their way, and they've won those little games where they've won by 2 and by 4. The Warriors' points difference is 25.
Yeah.
They're going 4th.
It might mean nothing, Adele, but the one team that stands out to me is Canterbury. I know you rate Melbourne's best as best, and obviously New Zealand and Canberra are doing well. We absolutely destroyed Fogarty in the second half. We isolated him. We made a mess of Chris on another side. Like, Canberra are a really good team, and they've got a lot of points in them. And they've got a great pack. They've got size, mobility. They've got everything. But I can't compare them to Canterbury. I just think Canterbury are levels up, and unless Canterbury's levels drop and someone else rises, I think it's Canterbury's to lose this year. I think they're head and shoulders above every other team.
I can't disagree with you more. I actually don't think they have the attack in them at all.
They don't need it.
I think, no, you do in the big games, Rob. You know what? People have always talked about the best defensive team wins the comp. I actually completely disagree with that. I think they are good enough to defend themselves, but at the end of the day, you've got to score points.
No, I know you've got to score points, but they're doing what Penrith did, for at least 3 of the last 4 years.
But Penrith, the difference is, Rob, if the Bulldogs go down by 20 in a game, besides that Canberra game, right? They went down.
I was just going to say that's my point in case. When they need to turn it on, they can. Yeah.
Look, I will say I don't think they can win the comp. I don't think they'll make the grand final. Not this.
Oh, what about we leave that beard bet for Canterbury make the grand final or not? You can have your beard for another few months. You got to shave it off if they make the grand final.
Righto, lock it in.
Yeah, happy with that. Just in conclusion, guys, we'll be back at the Orange Grove Hotel Wednesday night from 8:35. If you'd like to join us there or listen live, we'd love to have your company. And I would assume with an away game against Manly, is it Friday night we're playing Manly, Adele? Yeah, so Friday night we will be at the Orange Grove as well. So come and have a bite and a drink with us and give us a big crowd there for what really is our do or die. If we don't win this week, we are no chance of making 8. I don't care what goes on and mathematically and all that. If we can't beat Manly the way they are now, it's not happening. So join us Wednesday at the Orange Grove. Join us Friday at the Orange Grove. And we'll look forward to seeing you then. Hope you've enjoyed the episode and we'll catch up with you soon.
How's it, Wests Tigers fans? Thank you for listening to Wests Tigers Life's Coaches Report with Adel Hage. You can watch this episode live and ad-free on YouTube if you're a Patreon subscriber. Join at patreon.com/WestsLife and you'll get access to our Discord where Rob the Spleen Venter, AZ Statsman Thompson, Josh Bardette and Coach Adel chat everything West Tigers, including many things that aren't fit for broadcast. Yeah. Check out all of our content at westtigers.com.au. See you next time. Goodbye.